What is spirituality? I'm sure that's a question that has many answers. To different people, it has different meanings and different associations. Now, spirituality can either be a concept or a belief, or it could be an activity, something you do. Essentially, spirituality is to do with the part of us that is beyond mind and body. So, mind and body is something we can see, we can touch, we can feel, we can experience and interact with. But the spirit is that part of us that is beyond these two. It's something that we can't touch or feel or see with our experience with our senses, but it is very much a part of us, and it is something we can experience. And deep down within us, we have this natural instinct that tells us there's something beyond mind and body, that tells us there's some aspect of us that is yet to be explored and experienced and connected with. And that is why so many of us have this desire to pursue some sense of spirituality, even when we don't fully know or we can't fully articulate what it is that we mean by spirituality, yet we feel this need to experience it and to explore it and, in some sense, live it. So, spirituality as a concept is this part of us beyond mind and body, and as an activity, it is what we do to try to experience the spirituality. And those who have pursued this, those who have experienced it, know that it is not just an on-off. It's not that you either experience it or you don't. There are different degrees of this experience. So even though you may have experienced some spirituality, you have connected with this other dimension of life, this other part of you, it's still an ongoing activity where you are seeking to strengthen your connection, to strengthen and broaden your experience of spirituality. So, spirituality is both a concept and an activity. It is a belief, and it is also a pursuit. And it's a bit like chocolate. So, I mean, we can talk about chocolate, and we can discuss it, and you can theorize, and you can come up with ideas. But at the end of the day, to know chocolate is to experience it. And it's the same with spirituality. To really understand spirituality, you have to experience it. So just talking about it, just discussing spirituality, really doesn't really get you anywhere. What you can do by talking about spirituality is that you can maybe remove some doubts about its existence. If you are new to exploring spirituality, maybe you want to better understand the benefits of spirituality, the extent of it, what its implications are, what the methods are, maybe to experience spirituality, to create the motivation and the incentive to embark on this pursuit, on this trying to experience, on trying to connect with your spirituality. So there is some value in talking about it and understanding it and understanding the concept, but at the end of the day, that can really only serve as the motivation to do what needs to be done to experience spirituality. And that is really probably the most important part of spirituality, is that it is an experience. It cannot be understood just by ideas and concepts. And once you embark on that journey to experience it, you do experience it, and in different ways and uh, in different perspectives and different feelings. Because at the end of the day, we experience life and this world through our senses, through our emotions. So we would expect, if we are going to experience spirituality, that we would experience it somehow, either through how we feel, through uh, through through our senses, through our mind, through our thoughts, and that is how we experience it. And spirituality is central, really, to life, and to experience a complete life, to not just experience body and mind, but to experience a complete life is to experience this other dimension that we call spirituality. And once you experience it, you realize that there's a whole other aspect to life. There's this other dimension, and it's a new kind of experience. It's just like um, parenting. Parenting is a new kind of experience. So if you haven't been a parent, you can talk about having kids, you can maybe understand the idea, but the feeling that you get once you become a parent, it's a new part of life, it's a new dimension to life. Similarly, spirituality, it's a new dimension. It's difficult to capture the experience, just like chocolate. It's difficult to capture the experience in words, but it is a new experience. And spirituality is an understanding, a belief, but at the end of the day, spirituality is a practice. It is a practice of what we call spiritual principles. Now, the reason we call them spiritual principles really is because they are things we are trying to do, or things we are doing in order to experience that spirituality. The principles themselves may be mental exercises, they may even be physical exercises, but we call them spiritual because of where they get us, and the reason we're doing them. So applying spiritual principles in life is the method of increasing our connection. And spirituality hasn't really not necessarily got anything to do with religion, because spirituality, we as humans, we existed before any religion existed. So spirituality is really something about being human. It's not necessarily about being religious, and religion is supposed to guide us and take us to this experience, but it is possible completely to experience this angle, this part of being human, through practices that we call spiritual principles or spiritual practices, but they are there to get us to this experience. So what spirituality might mean to you could be different from what it means to someone else. And that's because your different people approach spirituality from different starting points. So we all have different beliefs, different upbringings, different backgrounds, and these cause us to come to the practice, to the understanding of spirituality from different angles and different approaches and different beliefs that make us look at things differently to start with. But over time, as we progress on the spiritual journey of getting closer and closer to experiencing our spirit, and then progressing to get a stronger and stronger connection with spirit, and making the spiritual part of us an important part of our daily experience of life. As we progress on this journey, we see that these differences start to disappear, and the experience eventually of spirituality is the same, because it's a human experience. It's got nothing to do with your background, your culture, your race, your upbringing, your religion. It's a human experience. So spirituality is a journey, it's a concept, it's a set of activities that we do, and it's the dimension of life that is beyond mind and body, but the dimension of life that we can experience through our mind and body, through certain practices, through certain approaches, and it's the most wonderful part of life that we instinctively know exists. There's a part of us that tells us that this exists even when we haven't experienced it. Isn't that wonderful? But that instinct guides us to seek this connection, to seek this experience, and expand into an awareness and a living of this part of us that we call spirituality.